campsite around the track, and I don't know what proportion of the actual track side is a spectator area, but a lot of people, the people get here super early to go to places like Hats and Back, where they set up, and you just have to walk past to just experience the craziness of the place and the effort people go to.
I love the idea of this being a sold-out event. They've sold all the tickets, but there's places where you don't need a ticket to get to because it's forest and people yomp in from miles away. So we actually never know how many people are watching this at the circuit. There are people who I know and I've spoken to down through the years, locals as well as some people from outside of Germany who have their own special little places that they go to. A bit like when we used to do forest rallying in the UK, up in Northumberland, there'd be those people who had managed somehow to get hold of a duplicate forestry key so that they could open the odd barrier, and that sort of thing happens here as well, and people go up on four-wheelers and dirt bikes and mountain bikes, pedal bikes as well.
It takes a lot of planning, and the worst words you can hear when you've yopped a long way to get a spectator point is, I thought you brought the bottle opener.
Yes, very good point. Clouds gathering from the southwest, but it's still much brighter than we've had in the past, in the early part of this week. So we had just under 50 cars in the top qualifying that were eligible to take place in top qualifying. The rest of the 111 cars now get to go out for, I think this will be their quickest session. It's by far the warmest temperature on the track, even if not in the air.
I have to correct you there, John. 112 cars. 161 was the number we got up to. That's what we started. One didn't go out early on. But now, this is the fusion of roughly about 20 different classes of cars. And the simpler ones to follow are the Cup 2 Porsches, because they're just 992 Cup class cars, which race in various championships around the world. Then the Cup 3, those are Porsche 718 Caymans. But we have everything else in between. We've got front-wheel drive, we've got rear-wheel drive, we've got one four-wheel drive car in the race, we've got cars that are production-based, we've got cars that are very much sort of junior GT categories, all with their own classes. And through the course of the race, they begin to sort of form their own pattern. But right now, it's a mélange, it's an absolute mixture as all the cars go out, all with one purpose, to qualify as well as they possibly can. They'll be saying, dry track, tick. It's a cold, dry track, though, so please remember, for all the drivers, they need to get out, they need to burn off a bit of the heat, get the heat into the tyres, burn off a bit of the fuel, but it's really not out and out about setting the best time. It's about setting a sensible time, getting your drivers comfortable, because, of course, it's a 24-hour race we're going to. The really tight stuff in qualifying was to define the top few rows of the ultimate grid. We've still got top qualifying 3 to come. 12 fastest cars, or 5 pre-qualifiers and the 7 fastest from an astonishing top qualifying 2 session, an interrupted session. But right now, we're going qualifying in a more simpler, old-fashioned way.
Hello to Robert Cruiser, who's been tuned in from North Carolina for a while, and his daughter Ellie tuned in as well yesterday in Chicago. It's 5 o'clock in the morning Central Time. Oh, yeah, spot on. And Ryan Hoover Transport just outside, getting ready to go to work. Matt Hunter from the UK tuned in. The Simcast was a great show last night. We'll have that for you on the archive as well. If you weren't listening, they did a little preview of this as well. And if you want to get in touch, it's at RSL_studio and use the hashtag RSLN24. I was amazed yesterday that this race keeps doing this to me. Just the variety of people who were tuning in, and the different territories. We had at least a couple of people in Trinidad. Not sure whether they were having a party together or whether they've met up since. South Africa tuned in, a lot of Australia, in a variety of the Antipodes, actually. Our colleague Phil Anson, back in God's country, as he would certainly tell me. He was listening.
He was Welsh.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't realise he was from County Durham, the land of the Prince Bishops. Let us know where you're watching and listening from. Hope you're enjoying the coverage Later on today, we will have English language world feed coverage of the DHL-M, which is sort of the replacement for the young timer race that we've had in the past. It's not exactly the same cars, though, Bruce.
No, I think a lot of them still exist because these are cars from sort of 30 to 40 to 50 years ago, but a lot of them have got, they have the cages in, but a lot of them are used regularly for people doing the day laps around the Nordschleife. A lot are race, but they're not the out-and-out built for racing cars, but it's going to be a packed field and, you know, wandering around the paddock. You know, I come from a lot of, as you do, John, quite a lot of historic, top-end historic racing. This is sort of somewhere further down, but it's people coming to race on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And seriously, you know, I can't think of a driver in the world who wouldn't want to come at one point in their career to compete in something. So it's this Deutsche Historic Langstreckenmeisterschaft. So the Langstrecke means racing around the Nürburgring. And we will get to see what they can do.
So now I've got to scroll my screen down to beyond the top 50 odd, haven't I, really, to see what's going on there. And then we'll also check the class leads as well. That's going to be really important for class pole positions, of which, as we mentioned, there are still a lot up for grabs. Now that is the sound of a Porsche. Yes, it's a GT3 Cup car, the Black Falcon Fanatec Manuel Metzger. Well, there's a name to conjure it with straight away. Knows his way around this place, but will not go out onto the Nordschleife. How clever was Manthey keeping Chan-Guven going round, burning off the fuel. Even though they knew they were going to put a new set of Michelin tyres on, they put the white-walled, softer compound tyres on, and even though they knew that was going on, kept him warm, kept the car warm, kept the temperatures up, the brake temps and everything, and then sent him. I think, in point of fact, Nick Yellerly's lap was actually most impressive because he hadn't been out. That was once round the Grand Prix circuit and off you go. And he was on for when you saw his splits after the incident that claimed Engel, he was fastest right through the middle part and the end of the track.
But he'd been slowed because he's going
20 seconds he lost.
Waved yellow, but again, it was the ultimate jeopardy. This should be a very, very different session. This should be more standard. An hour and 5 minutes. We've just gone past the 1 hour still to go mark. A lot of drivers will find themselves in traffic. That's very much the nature of a 25-kilometre track with drivers in many different classes of cars. And it's funny, John, you go across the years how the categories ebb and flow in terms of the number of cars competing. The SP10 class cars, so cars that race in GT4 around the world, that's a number that's growing. TCR, the Silhouette Touring Car class, is in decline. That used to put a huge number of cars into the race. They were made for sprints, but proved to be very, very good at long-distance races, and their numbers have dwindled now.
Well, interestingly, a lot of them have gone over to SP3T because they have a tyre choice there, whereas the actual TCR class is a mandated tyre. So there's quite a lot of TCR cars in SP3T now that are effectively homologated TCR cars. Front-wheel drive, four-cylinder, 2-litre, 360, 370 horsepower. They've got to have 4 or 5 doors. It could be a saloon or a hatchback.
But the trouble is when you go through a cycle of a championship, we'll go back to qualifying in a second, it's the fact that inevitably, unavoidably, they become more expensive because you're looking to be the top in your category, not just compete in your category. And I think TCR is going through a little bit of a cost moment at the moment, but we will see someone else plugging a gap or TCR being reinvented. Many other classes beside. BMW have long time been supporters of the long distance racing at the Nürburgring. The M240i Cup has had some fantastic races. So what you have to do with the Nürburgring 24 hours, if you have the live timing on where you're watching around the world and you've got timing screens, you can pick your way through the classes. And some of the battles in the classes, Cup 2 Porsches, Cup 3 Porsches, it really doesn't matter which class, they will rage through the course of the the 24 hours. So there's so much to watch. In fact, there's so much detail. You almost need to watch it twice to take it all in. But do try and make sure you've got a timing screen. You'll enjoy it so much more.
Hello to M Sport Extra, watching and listening at M Sport Extra HQ in Holland, enjoying what he is seeing and hearing. Thank you very much, by the way, for everybody who took the time to comment yesterday about the whole team there, and obviously everyone behind the scenes as well. You hear our voices, but there's a whole team from our responsible adult, Eve Hewitt, from the guys at Nürburgring TV, all the technicians, the camera operators, etc. And then back in London at our main control room, Tim Gray, our executive producer for the radio part of Radio Show Limited's network of audio and visual channels, and his merry band of producers there. So it really does take a village when you come to a circuit that is this large. But it was very lovely for you to take time out to give us your thoughts about what you were seeing and hearing. We do cover all of the NLS races. I appreciate that some of you are here just for one or two drivers following a particular car, maybe some of your friends or whatever. But the rest of the season and the bulk of the NLS season, this race is not a part of that. It is a championship and it continues throughout the year. And we do a lot of other racing as well. Bruce and I will be at Spa Classic next weekend, which you can tune into. Then we're getting back into IMSA racing on the streets of Detroit, Mid-Ohio, Le Mans Test Weekend. We're the only people that broadcast live from Le Mans Test Weekend, then Le Mans 24, and so on and so forth through the season. I think at the last count it was 78 events, not races, events last year that the RSL network of audio and video channels were at, and by far the bulk of those have a video world feed TV style component. So if you are new to us and you're enjoying it, first of all, thank you, and thanks for your support. And you can follow us along the rest of the year as well. It's radiolemans.co or radio-show.co.uk, or indeed imsaradio.com. We've got video on there for the whole of the American series. It's we're not quite as busy as Maro Engel, 40 weekends a year for all of us, but not far off, Bruce.
Yeah. No, I was just taking a little look, actually. A little message has popped up. Long-time friend of mine, Chris Longmore, said 30 years ago I competed in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. As Max competes this weekend, I'm sure he won't be cleaning his own windscreen at the pit stops.
No.
He said that year we were the only Mercedes on the grid, which seems extraordinary. He said so we had amazing support from one camp of German fans, etc., about them appearing every lap. But he said the 1996 Nürburgring 24 hours, of course, was the first time it was won by a woman, Sabine Schmitz, Sabine Wreck as she was at the time. We didn't win our class, but we just had the most amazing time. Every team competing, whether in the fastest car or the slowest, will have not one story, they'll have endless stories to tell about this event. But it is a far more professional event now than it was, 30 years ago. It's been absolutely transformed. And, the quality of the car, the quality of the preparation, the level of promotion, the level of where it's televised and received around the world. It's a global race now. It grew from being a German race, getting its international feet and spreading its wings, but it really is absolutely at the zenith now.
The infrastructure investment by the new owner group, which came in a few years ago now, and there was a time, let's not forget, there was a time when it looked like we might lose racing at the Nürburgring altogether because of financial difficulties. Then we get a spot of rain here and there on the Grand Prix circuit, raining out of a clear blue sky, bizarrely, at the moment. If Carlo Van Dam's view in the Subaru four-wheel drive STI, the WRX, is anything to go by, with the flat four engine, that distinctive flat four rumble, we could have lost it. We didn't. And the new people came in and spent money. And some of the things that Bruce was talking about there completely ran fibre optic cable around the whole Nordschleife, so that when we come for the two-day events, which are effectively a one-day event, everything qualifying and the race on a Saturday usually for the NLS. They can plug their cameras in fairly easily. We've got more helicopter coverage in the NLS than we've ever had before. The facilities for us as press and broadcasters and for our technical colleagues have never been better than they are. Yes, there's a big spotlight being shone on it this year because of Windwards and Verstappen.com and Max Verstappen himself. But this is not the start of it. This started, we've been coming here since 2007, and I know exactly why, because it was the weekend of my first wedding anniversary. So it was June the 9th and 10th was that year, and it was Gran Turismo, it was Assetto Corsa, iRacing, it was the availability of being able to stream. When we first came along, even in those days, in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, we were doing radio coverage only. The pictures didn't go through the night. We didn't go through the night for the first couple of years, and then we decided we'd give it a go. And then talking to the guys at the Nürburgring, they thought it'd be a good idea if they added our audio to a streaming video.
They said it would never catch on.
Never catch on. Well, Bernie Eccleston never thought it would, of course.
No.
One of the few mistakes he's made.
One thing that really focuses me on the steps coming forward, I saw some camera angles yesterday I've never seen before. Anything, this circuit, I could sit all day watching onboard footage around, but I saw some angles that I didn't know existed. And what it showed is the sheer rise and fall of this circuit, and the fact it just snakes around a forest. There are villages within the inner part of the circuit, believe it or not. It's truly extraordinary. But just getting your head around 25 kilometres, plus the eternal factor, the weather. What is the weather going to do? What's it going to do this lap? Or maybe, if I'm in a slower class car, in 12 minutes when I get around to do another lap. How much water's going to be there?
Well, it's... I'm talking to drivers down through the years. I've only ever driven either tourist laps or manufacturer days. So I've never raced here yet. Bit of a plan going on for this year in a relatively quiet endurance August that I'm working on at the moment, but I'm not going to jinx it by saying too much at the moment. But this place is much more akin to driving your favourite country road. This just happens to come back in 25 kilometres to where you started. But think of it as a tarmac rally stage, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go.
Yeah. And you're doing, if you've got a really competent road car with very good brakes and you know what you're doing, you can probably do 3 laps off the bounce here before things start to get far too much overheated. I would never suggest that. I would say 2 laps at the absolute most in a road car. But I've been fortunate enough to jump into GT4 cars here on manufacturer days and do 3 or 4 laps straight off the back of each other. And even on a sunny day, you just don't know. Even with only 15, 20 cars on the track at a manufacturer day, you just don't know that you might come across someone in the barriers, which is exactly what's happened to one of the Cup 4 cars, which is on the run up to... It's just coming up to Flugplatz, isn't it? Is it further round?
I think it's a little bit further up towards Arenberg, I think.
You might be right.
It's actually, again, this is a camera angle I haven't seen before.
No, so absolutely.
They've got some cameras mounted very, very high on cherry pickers. Of course, they have to come down when the lightning descends. Oh, in fact, it's right towards the end of the lap. Before you get to Schwalbenschwanz.
So just after the Stefan Bellof-Esses then. Yeah. On the right-hand side, driver's right, my apologies.
So just to let you know where that is, that's just before you get onto the longest straight on the circuit, the Dotting-Höhe. They didn't quite get there, so lap not completed.
Quickly before we get some times coming in, and I'll start going through the classes for you that we are setting pole positions for here. Hello to Emma, who's in Newcastle upon Tyne. So I'll put our religious and philosophical and cultural differences to one side, as you would say that I'm the wrong side of 2 rivers to you, Emma. But thank you for tuning in. Hope you are enjoying it. Tim Jacks at missing the N24 qualifying as he's setting off for Snetterton for the GT Cup meeting, where he's marshalling. Thank you to all the marshals, and there's a lot of British marshals here this weekend as well, and from other. I mean, it's a ridiculous number of people who are working. It's something getting on towards 5,000 people overall. Not all of those are marshals, but a lot of marshals here, as you might imagine. Roxy has been speaking to us across the weekend using RSL N24 as the hashtag at RSL_studio. Hello to Justin in South Africa, first time watching and now getting right into this event. And the nice thing about this is there is something for pretty much everybody. If you're a touring car fan, if you're a Porsche fan, if you're a BMW fan, if you're a BMW E36 or E39 fan, there are cars for you. And bringing the Z4s back this week with Volker Strycek, and he's bolted the Foxtail onto the one that he's running in, evoking, of course, the old Manta, the Triggers Broom Manta that went through so many different iterations. In some ways, this race is an anachronism, and I love it for that.
Yeah, another element, I think, is the sheer international spread. You know, you don't have to be racing in the SP9 class, the very top class, and you get lots of unbelievably cosmopolitan sort of conglomerations, teams with people from all around the world. But I particularly like it, you know, over the past couple of decades. This is a race that holds huge fascination to the Japanese racer. And for decades now, we've had all Japanese teams. It's gone so far away from being a largely German and European event. And then the manufacturers, if anyone was driving along on the public road alongside the main straight here, the Dottingher, used to be fields. And the whole point about this circuit being built in this part of Germany in the 1920s was to bring employment into a poor rural area. Now we want to have one of the centres of world motor racing built alongside the main straight at Moyes Yep. And every time I go, there's another new building, shinier than the one before, with another manufacturer, tyre supplier based there. This is a centre of excellence, so they've got there.
And beautifully, that street is Gottlieb Daimlerstrasse. That is where all of those technical centres are. And down, I mean, again, you make a very good point there, because when I first came here in whenever it was, 2007, might have been the end of 2006 actually, when we were planning the event and did some tourist laps and went out with some Aston Martins as well. There were maybe 4 technical centres there, maybe 5, and now pretty much every major motor group has one or shares one there, and the tyre suppliers, because this is the ultimate test. Whether you're racing a Hyundai here this weekend, their rally cars in the World Rally Championship this season, and congratulations to them for a fabulous result in Portugal last weekend. A real fillip to Andrew Wheatley and the rest of the team. They've got a joint Nanking, which is their R&D centre in Korea, and Nürburgring livery on their cars, watching a Porsche going slowly, and now we know why, because it's hit the wall, and it is the Woolfall 320, 47th position for that car, and that car with now damage to the suspension. So I think that's Lopez Cesarato in that GT3 Cup car, second in the alternative fuels category. Must remember to turn my split times off now, because I now can't see my whole screen. But this place has just become the place to do as close to real world testing, country road testing as you can, but doing 250 to 300 Ks at places. So, you know, 120, 130 miles an hour. The manufacturers all pay money to come here. They have an agreement that when they bring their prototype cars out, that they don't photograph each other, that they don't have a too close a look. They roll them in from the test centres. Of course, you have the spy photographers standing around waiting to see them all in that sort of Baltic razzle-dazzle camouflage. That's not... Is that the same Porsche?
No. It's GT. It's a Supra.
Yeah, I thought so. GR Supra.
Smoking away, 95% of the way around the lap. So the Porsche's at a gap along the Dottingher. That will be taken through. Double wave yellows there for all the cars coming down that main straight where they hit. VMAX. Can't do that right now. But you talked, John, about the number of people working at this circuit. Not just the marshals, but also the rescue crews. And you need multiple flatbed trucks. You need multiple course vehicles that can get in position with their flashing lights on the roof to make plain where a situation is. So another car to be towed away.
And safety aspect is another part of the improvements, as I'm reminded by Johannes. 46 electronic signal panels being added round the track. They used to use them just in the night time. They've been used in the day now to supplement the marshals' flags. Hello to Wet Siggy. That's a great handle. Appreciating the coverage. Funny to see the cars driving around at 9 degrees at midday in Germany when I'm shivering here at 18 degrees at 8 p.m. at night in Australia. Weather is certainly very different over there. Yeah, you haven't endeared yourself to me, Wet Siggy, from Australia. Welcome, and have a lovely evening. You're going to stay for TQ3 single car qualifying effectively. Auckland, New Zealand, amazing shot, incredible footage. A lot of people commenting, as Bruce just has, about the new aerial shots, the higher up shots, really giving a sense of scale to this place. And then, of course, the brilliant onboard camera shots that we get now, which are... I mean, it was one of the things I thought about the F1 movie. I watched the F1 movie, and they got a technical Oscar for that. And I was actually quite underwhelmed by not the film as a whole. I watched that with an open mind. But the thing is, onboard shots nowadays, at all level of motor racing, are more cinematic than cinema is, in fact.
100%, but one that will always stand out for me, the very tight, but almost entirely concrete-bound Norris Ring circuit in Germany, eons ago, but let's say very late 80s, very early days of smaller cameras. Christian Danner had one mounted on the door of his car about halfway down, and he came out of one of the chicanes and his Alfa Romeo, bang, he wiped it off the ball. And the level of flinching
on the outside, yeah, right,
it was a right-left flick, but he didn't quite flick enough to the left, and it's a smash into the ball, and you felt like you're going to fall behind the sofa. The camera absolutely destroyed, but did its job, got the action.
Right, we've got about 40 minutes to go, so let's look through some of the pole sitters in the classes who are out qualifying at the moment. In 26th overall, but AT2 weren't allowed to take part in top qualifying. But that tells you how quick the best of the AT2 cars are. That is the Black Falcon, number 632. Alternative technologies, alternative fuel, generally speaking. Although we're running on Excellium Total energy fuel, which I think is now 100% renewable anyway. So not awfully sure what alternative technology is for. We need to dive into that. And we haven't got any diesel cars anymore. But that car, I watched that fuel yesterday, the 632, the Black Falcon car. It's the yellow and black car. And they've done an 8:37.721 in this session that has pushed them to 26th overall and leading in AT2. This is their final qualifying session. Cup 2, it's a really, really tight affair between two Mühlner Motorsport cars. The 918 and the 904, obviously Porsche GT3 Cup car, 991.1. They are separated in a lap of 8 minutes, 38.5 seconds by 0.2 of a second. And that's the battle for pole position, as we've got on the BMW M2 Cup cars off to driver's right. And now that, I think, is that Ice Curve or somewhere like that, a little bit further round.
Dossinger Her, maybe.
And is he facing the wrong direction?
What I talk about, sorry, but
he's facing the wrong direction, is he? I need to see a car come through. It's heading up the hill to Mood Curve, I think. But we had a very, very tight shot on it, and if you don't have a small, he's heading in the right direction, you do not have a small, I see where he is now, he's just after Flugplatz. He's just after Flugplatz, the right-hander, and that is, even in one of those cars, that is scary fast. Understeered off, hit an un-tyre protected part of the barrier on driver's left, so he's heading up the hill towards the top of the hill at Arnberg. And that BMW then sitting parked rather forlornly and will not take any further part.
The two right-hand wheels way off the ground as it impacted the barrier, but it came back into terra firma, slid across the track. Barriers have contained it, but that would have gone from all going fine to all not going fine very quickly indeed.
So just to let you know, see if we can identify the car actually. Lost it early, actually, and understeer. There was a little flick and an understeer. Oh dear, I don't like that at all. Driver's side as well going in. That GT3 Cup 2 battle, the Porsche Carrera Cup car battle, is phenomenal because we've got the top 7 separated by just on 8 seconds in that battle, and this is their final opportunity to improve. Let's scroll down a little further for some more class leaders for you. It is the Hyundai Motorsports TCR 830, which is a perennial pole sitter and winner here. 8:52.7 they just did last time around, ahead of the rest of their pack. Then that's in 45th overall, so inside the top 50 for a TCR car when there are 40 SP9 cars out there. That's pretty impressive. And let me just see what that is. So they are under 40 seconds away from the fastest time we've seen. That's actually quite quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
For a little 2-litre front-wheel drive car. Now, TCRs are purpose-built race cars. Let's remind ourselves. SP10 is the 888 Hoffa Racing GT4 Evo BMW. That is the GT4 class. They're in 49th position. They've just set their 856. 858 for Ryder Engineering's Cup car. That's the SP7, number 91, sitting in 50th position. It is the Max Kreisser Racing VW GTI Club Sport that leads the SP4T category on 9 minutes. So all of the top 51, in fact, are under 9 minutes, and then we're into the 9-minute laps, which is still, that's not hanging around. Remember, that includes almost the full Grand Prix circuit as well. So SP4T is the category that the Hyundai Elantras with that development prototype engine, road car engine, are running in. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Behind them in Cup 3, which is another Porsche class, but for Porsche Cayman GT4s effectively. That is the W&S Motorsport car, which has been fastest all week. They've not actually improved their time from yesterday. They were on a 9:02 yesterday, and they've not yet improved that today. Well, they are out on the circuit at them. Actually, I'm saying that I don't know. It might have been the lap before that. I'll go back and check that in a moment. And they sit in a very creditable 58th position, so that's, you know, well inside the top half of the field. Some more pole sitters, provisional pole sitters at the moment. We go down into the 90s for the BMW M240i, started as the M235i category, and then they got a bit of an engine upgrade, not a bore out, but a little bit more power, some change in the electronics a few years ago. That used to be the entry level for BMW M Motorsport. That's now the BMW M2 Cup, but it's the 195 car sitting in 93rd. That's one of the myriad of adrenaline motorsport cars that take up the last 2 boxes at pit out. In fact, I think they've got 2.5 boxes down there. Adrenaline with always a fantastically turned out set of cars in a variety of the classes. SP2T is the Toyota Gazoo Racing Yaris, with the Japanese squad, the 109 car, and that leading there. That's a very interesting program as well. Go and read up about that. V6 is the Porsche Cayman S, number 448. No team name there, but that's all right. That could just be a bunch of friends, or maybe they've rented a car. And what did I say? They were in position 97, so still inside the top 100. Max Kreisser Racing SP3T, that's another GTI Club Sport Golf, celebrating 50 years of the GTI next year. So we've got a Porsche rotating in blue and orange, but not your standard Gulf colours. I think it was the 925. Bruce will look that up while I finish going through these class leaders. The Valkenhorst Motorsport M2 racing car, that's the G87. The 898, they lead their class in 107th position. The VT2 rear drive, that's interesting because the Subaru, sorry, no, it's not. Sub 7, sorry, my eyes. The Adrenaline Motorsport BMW 330i leads that, but only by 1/10 of a second from the Ravenol Japan Supra number 519, and they're both in 111th and 112th position. Then it's the front-wheel drive P2, the four-wheel drive cars go into there as well, and it's the Audi S3, the Dupré Motorsport car that we've been talking about a lot. It's great effort, bright red car. That's number 480. And then we've done the 240i's. Then it'll be the V5, is it? That'll be another Adrenaline Motorsport car. I bet it is, yes. The 444 Adrenaline Motorsport Porsche Cayman sits in 119th position. And there's got to be a couple more. We haven't done the 325 class yet. And that is the number 100, down in 135th position. That leads that category. And I think we've got two more, SP3 and SP4. And it's the SP4 car that is slightly ahead on 159th. That is the number 152. And the number 277 SP3 is another BMW, an old E36. Still racing, 318 Ti, the little stubby, great piece of kit. And they've got a little series of their own as well. Cheney Motorsport being involved in building some of those cars as well. Really cost-effective way to go racing. Those are your class leaders at the moment, with exactly half of this session back. Bruce Jones has taken his leave and headed off for some Spätzle or whatever our catering is provided. Their catering's been superb. Looks damp on the far side of the circuit, Peter. So once again, the rain clouds coming in. It's been lovely here at the start-finish line, but the nature of the beast here is just tackle whatever you get when you get to it.
Our colleague, you just mentioned, Bruce, nearly always says exactly the same thing, that the one thing that wins every single event that takes place on this circuit is the Nürburgring. The Nordschleife always has the final say.
We talk about Bathurst and Mount Panorama and Le Mans. You know, we often say the mountain chooses. Well, the ring chooses as well. I do honestly. I know it's terribly romantic and not very scientific, but I do feel that there's a personality here that the circuit brings. The layout of the circuit, where we are, the topography, even the hospitality of everywhere around and how they get into it. The Japanese very much believe when we go to Fuji, they talk about Fujisan, which is the spirit of the mountain that exudes its way down to the track. And I kind of like that sort of feeling, one with nature. And the Nürburgring has that kind of feel, doesn't it?
I totally agree. Every circuit's got a little bit of that sort of to it itself. Yeah, I'd say Le Mans in some ways is a little bit uninteresting, and in talking 24-hour races in that way. So, as in it's flat out. There's no real contours. And that's not putting it down, but you have other places, certain places like Monza, the Temple of Speed, has a majesty about it.
That's true.
There's something you go to there and you think, it's Monza, it's fast, you know, it's incredible. You come here and I always think it's set by that Schloss, that castle.
Yes.
It's watching, it's been here, it's coming up to 100 years.
Yeah.
And you arrive, you can't help but arrive in the paddock, and there's this aura, and you sort of get the sensation of the circuit is watching you.
Correct. And no matter which way you come to the circuit, you almost feel the circuit, whether you're coming up from the south and that's the Grand Prix circuit that you see first, and then you're at the back of the Dorint, and you know that Tiergarten is right there to your left-hand side as the Dacia comes out to see if it can improve its position in the number 300. I haven't checked to see where that one is in class. I will do in a second. Or you come from the other direction where the road runs directly parallel to the Dodiger, and you drive down, and if there's cars on track, you're driving down there at 70 clicks or whatever the speed limit is. It is 70 clicks this weekend. I think it's normally 100, but they pull it down because there's so many people around this weekend. And you've got cars going past 20 yards away from you on your right-hand side, and you could be getting passed by a GT3 car doing 300 clicks, 320 clicks down the Dodiger, and it's just, I love it. It drags you in at every moment, and well, as you rightly say, it's 1927, isn't it? It was completed. We're already into the 100th anniversary of the work having started. I think that was the back end of last year, sometime. As you can imagine, a massive engineering project that was effectively a job creation in quantitative easing in today's terminology. It was to bring jobs and to bring tourism. Yes, to take racing off the roads. The Eifelrennen, the old Eifelrennen, Eifel races were on the roads around here, which are, by the way, still superb. And some of the old Südschleifer, when we had, I think there was once when we had the conjoined circuit for everything before the Grand Prix track was in position. Some of the old Südschleifer is now public road, and you can still drive it. You can see some of the other stuff that goes into the campsite. But, the nascent motor car industry took this place to heart, and it was built as a test and race facility. There was the test hill, effectively the shortcut, very steep shortcut, the Steilstrecke.
That's just to the left of the Caracciola.
Correct.
Carousel. You went straight on up there, which.
But it's a one in. I don't know what. one in
yeah.
2, 1 in 3, 1 in 4. I don't know. But it was a test hill, because in those days, it wasn't just about speed in the early days of the automobile. It was about torque, and it was about drivability. And can you get your car up that hill in the second of 3 gears that you might have had?
And in those days, of course, there was no social media and advertising and marketing the way we had. So the age-old adage, which comes about in the 60s of win on Sunday, sell on Monday, really applied, because if your product was successful and finished, it was much more about reliability. That became known, and people would then want to buy that product to use on the road, albeit, some cars had 20, 30 horsepower and stuff at the time, which you can't imagine now. We talk of a 30, 40 horsepower bop these days. Those cars had it in total. But that was the point of it, and as you say, it was job creation, and as my Lancastrian grandfather always used to say, there's nothing new.
No.
It's exactly the same thing. It's just 100 years later.
No, absolutely.
We've still got the Technopark, we've still got, teams over there.
Absolutely. Alfie 42 says, has the M3 Touring GT3 BMW had any changes to its BOP? There were some changes, but not to that car. I think the Ford Mustang's got a little break. The guys were talking about it this morning. Go on to the 24hrennen.de site, and all the technical bulletins are there in English and in German as well. Those cars aren't on the track list at the moment, the SP9 AT1s, SPX. They are, for the moment, taking a lunch break, and we will have the top 12. It's not the dirty dozen, it's the rapid dozen that we have, and they are out for single car qualifying later on this afternoon. Hello to Phil Bell, thank you. He's just reminded us, we were talking about the TCR, some of the TCR cars running in SP3T because they want to run a different tyre, same as some of the Cup cars as well, and the 632 not running the Cup tyre, so it's slotted into another class. And hello to, now I hope I get this right, Cesarito, watching at 6:40 a.m. in the morning in Chile. And we do have a Chilean driver this weekend, at least one. Bruce would tell me if there was any more. He's nipped off for lunch now. But you have someone to cheer for, Cesarito, in the field. And hello to Chile That might be the first time. Matt Hunter is watching in Devon. He says, watching the SP9s at the Nürburgring seems comparable to driving down a single track Devon country lane, but at motorway speeds, with the almost constant threat of meeting a tractor coming the other way around the next corner. Ultimately incredible, and I will also have the utmost respect for the drivers. The bulletins, the regs, etc. Thank you, Johannes. 24h-information.de. 24h-information.de, and they're in German and English. If you want to get in touch with us, hashtag RSLN24 at RSL_studio. I think we might have seen the best of the conditions here, Peter, and with still 22 minutes to go, I can't see anybody improving their times from yesterday now. Those who did it early on have got it right. Anybody who's left their fastest driver for the second half of the session here has been caught out.
But John, stop looking at me and look out the window, and you've only got to see it there. It is absolutely tipping it down on the pit straight just before the BMW M Power bridge that connects our commentary box and TV side of the track with the media centre on the opposite side in the pits, with obviously the track in between. And it is torrential. We've got the red and yellow striped flags out now, which I'm old enough to call that an oil flag still, which I must be corrected on. It isn't an oil flag. It used to be one when I started racing, and obviously colour was quite a new thing then. But it's now officially a change of surface flag. So
debris.
Exactly.
Basically, it's track conditions.
That's the point of change of surface.
Correct.
Somebody might have run a little bit wide and put a little bit of gravel on it. They've got away with it, but the car behind may not. So it is, say, all debris, as you say, a little bit of something on the track. It's a change of surface condition warning.
I'm desperately honoured to be an ambassador for the British Motor Racing Marshals Club, and I wear their patch on my race suit in the odd times when I get to wear the race suit, either on a test day or even in anger. And my marshal colleagues, I say colleagues, my marshal friends and the people who make races work, tell me there's a short word. I think I can say. Can I say crap? I can't.
Okay.
Crap on the track.
Okay. Yep.
Right. So
yes.
that it covers a multitude, as you say. Originally, slippery surface, flag, oil, water, coolant, whatever. But it basically means there is something on the track that affects grip.
Car removed associated parts.
Yes, indeed. Very good. Like that. That's very good. Yes. Or can't ride at pace.
Correct. Even better.
There we go.
Better. Yes.
Supra
none of these cars are going at pace at the moment, John, in these conditions.
So
we're looking at the Supra at the moment, which I think is Hatzenbach.
Yeah, it is, just finishing.
Just to the end of Hatzenbach there, so a quick look at that. And
that's a heck of a start, isn't it, to the Nürburgring lap, that you get onto the Hatzenbach. And in the GT cars, it's fourth, third and fourth gear, which is rapid. And the commitment, where Maro Engel went off that fast right-hander, you need to be, like so many places here, you need to be millimetre perfect, pretty much, at the kind of speeds these cars are taking through the corners nowadays.
I've said with our colleague Bruce, when we cover NLS for you, John, on many occasions, to the point that people are probably bored of it, but it is the metaphor, it is the barometer, not just a weather, it is the barometer of changing from the Grand Prix circuit to go on to the old Nordschleife. It is a hairpin back left, and all the way around the Grand Prix circuit, you have one huge safety net, which is runoff areas. There may be gravel, but you can make a little mistake and you can possibly get away with it. Just to set the measure, when you arrive at the end of that lap on the Grand Prix circuit and turn 180 degrees left to go onto the Nordschleife, what are you greeted with? Firstly, as you say, a third gear in a GT3 car, 180 degree hairpin, effectively. Yep. Sharp left, certainly. What's on the outside? Not a white, there is a white line, but there's no grass.
Nope.
There's a barrier. Yep. There's a metal barrier.
Triple layer arm core.
It sets the tone for what you're about to see, the roller coaster of the Hatzenbach. And even greater than that for me is, they renamed that corner a few years ago, Sabine Schmitz curve. Yep. And if ever there was a place to give her title, her name, her experience and talent onto that circuit, it's the beginning of the Nordschleife. Yeah. take note, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to go on to the Nordschleife.
And if you are wide there, the camber doesn't help.
You're out.
Because you're going to understeer off of the little car, bang.
Yeah, but so are the next 2 or 3 cars behind you, because you're suddenly blocking the track.
Yeah, true.
And you do not want to be clattering. We don't want to be clattering the barriers anywhere. It's suboptimal, according to race engineers, I understand, and they use other Anglo-Saxon terms on the radio to describe that, convey that message to you.
Oh, yes.
I've heard tell.
Yes, absolutely.
You certainly don't want to be starting the lap there by just clattering the right rear and touching it. Not what you want to be doing at all.
2 Chilean drivers, we reckon, in the race. Benjehitis is one. No, this is Cesarito coming back to me. I'll have to search through. Hites was the one that I was thinking about, but you're right, I have seen the Chilean flag somewhere else along the pit lane, and I can't bring it to mind at the moment. Hello to Mr. Madhouse from Zwolle in the Netherlands. I said he's been to this race years ago as a fan. Very cool to see Max Verstappen joining in. 2 seconds between the top 6 in qualifying on a 25-kilometre track. Insane. Thank you for the kind words as well. Well, we haven't set pole yet, and we might see that... Oh, no, see, it's got wet again. I was going to say we might see the qualifying lap record go here, but now that it's started raining again...
Now, am I right in saying the qualifying lap record is an 8:08 from Daniel Kielwitz in 2023?
In the Ferrari. Kielwitz in the Ferrari that year? That was the Fricatelli year, wasn't it? 2023?
Yes.
I'm doing that without notes.
I know you are.
I'm working without safety net.
No, John, I'm doing this to make me look average. You look good. I'm doing this to make me look average.
No. The two COVID years throw my timings out. I remember everything up to 2019 in the order that it happened, but the 2 COVID years scramble my brain in what our responsible adult Eve Hewitt, another very important part of the team, calls the global long yellow flag period, which I think is a brilliant way of describing...
That record is 8 minutes 08.006. Daniel Kielwitz driving a Ferrari 296 GT3. I had the year right.
Wow. Yeah.
This is why you're lead and why I failed.
No, not at all. It was an incredible lap. I remember 8:08 for various musical reasons that we were talking about last night. It was quite funny to see. You know, people of a certain age when they go, oh yeah, 808 State, I've got their first album. So have I, on vinyl. But that dates you to a certain year, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Great, that first album, 808 State, actually. I may have to dig that out when I get back. Go down the storage unit. It'd be pointless because I don't actually have a record player at the moment, but a pair of SL1200s are going to be finding their way to me when I've got a bit of clearing out of the studio to do, and at least 1, possibly 2 SL1200s are coming back into fashion now. They are as well. It is slippery everywhere on the circuits. Coming up later on, let's remind you, nobody's improving, by the way. So, oh no, you see, hang on. I say that, and that must have been a time just before... No, that's all right. I've reset. And just before the rain came in, the Hyundai Motorsports 8:30 did its fastest lap, 8:52.7. I think that was the time we were talking about, though. And second place in SP10, the Riley and Schnauk BMW GT4 Evo did a 9 minutes. Well, that was an improvement because I said 51 cars. I know it still is 51 cars that are under 9 minutes. That's just on 9 minutes, 0.4. 9 minutes, 0.4. So, hello to Ryan in Hong Kong, who's listening. Snooty McFleud as well. Check the timings for wherever you are around the world as the Dacia goes out onto the Hartson back. Comes down to the Sabine Schmitz curve. They've been Sabine's 57th birthday yesterday. I make no apologies for saying that again. Make no apologies for saying how much I enjoyed working with her as well when we did a couple of Top Gear Live events. Tiffany Dell, me and Sabine Schmitz. Can you imagine how much fun we had? Both.
It wouldn't be broadcastable, would it then?
In the arena, but also at dinner and in the bar afterwards. And it was an absolute joy to work with Sabine. She took all of the little digs from the main Top Gear hoax in her stride, and never stopped smiling. And I think I saw somebody saying the other day they thought that she'd done more than 30,000 laps around here.
It's entirely plausible.
Because she was a part of the BMW Ring Taxi team for a very, very long time. Still the only female to have won outright, did it 2 years in a row. Of course, in the mid-70s.
But just one of those naturally gifted people that just had the ability, but absolutely devoid of any ego or whatever, could just go and do it, and just fabulous. Just one moment, John, just going back to about lap times around here, just as a matter of minute, while the time's a little bit slow at the moment. The outright lap record moment is held by an AMG 1 at a 6:29.
Yeah, that's only on the Nordschleife.
Yes, on the Nordschleife, but just about 6:29, driven by one Mauro Engel.
Yeah. The Ford GT Mark IV with Frederick Vervisch behind the wheel. Got pretty close to that. And that is... that was the fastest American car, I think, American manufactured car around here. They did that just a few weeks ago, and then they backed that up with another fast lap in a GT3 car as well. And then what else was I seeing the other day? Porsche reset some records. There's always people going out there and doing things. So what was that fast lap, did you say, for
Mauro Engel? 6:29.
Timo Bernhard's done a 6.
I'm going to say 15 in my head or something.
I think it was quicker than that. I think it was a 6 or 7 in the optimised.
Yeah.
The optimised 919. In fact, was it a 5 something? When they turned everything up, they turned the hybrid up, they turned the engine up. The only thing they didn't change was the gearbox. They wanted an electrically operated gearbox, but they decided not to do that. They changed the aero. Michelin gave them a special set of tyres. And I always remember talking to Timo after that. He said, I think there was a bit of time left on the table there. So he went to Frank Steffenwalliser and said, I'll do another one while the weather's good. And Frank said, no, we've beaten Belloff's time. That's all we came here to do. Let's have some respect, and we'll call it at that.
So that was a 919 hybrid Evo.
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
What was that?
Little stats for you here. Okay. It's obviously on the Nordschleife only.
Correct.
Okay. So he averaged 233.8k. That's 145.3 miles per hour. Average being the operative word there. And the time, John. Are you sitting down?
Yeah.
5 minutes. 19.5 seconds.
5:19. That's right. I knew it was something ridiculous.
Insane. It is available on various platforms as a YouTube type video. Sorry, I should have said that one. Other platforms available too, but do go and watch it, because the levels of concentration to keep that all hooked up and out of the scenery is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
I remember watching that, and also watching the Peter Dumbreck electric lap as well, and wondering why they were braking in certain places. Then when I watched the video back for the second and third time, saw the speeds that they were going. By the way, Sabine Schmitz did not win back-to-back here when she was only 6 years old. I think I said the mid-70s.
I meant
the mid-90s.
Yeah. I know she was good, but...
She was, her and her sister. Her sister was a decent driver as well.
She won the VLN titles back-to-back and won 24-hour race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still the only female to...
Mid-90s?
96 and 97, I think, the 24 hours for BMW. Incredible. Thank you, Tim Gray. That's why he's an executive producer, because he's listening to everything all the time. We are down to the last 8 minutes. Nobody is improving at the moment. A big thank you to all of our camera operators, particularly those who are up on the cherry pickers, where when it gets windy, it's very scary. And if we do get a bit of thunder and lightning in the air, those will come down. But we've been getting some incredible shots from that. A whole load of cars at the end of the first race lap tomorrow are going to be in the pit lane from various of the starting groups. If you're not used to this, we start different starting groups, round about 50 in the first group, which will be all the SP9 cars. Do you know it's dry on the far side of the circuit now? The Dacia is
that's great for the 5 cars that are out on the circuit at the moment.
Well, but also it's great for TQ3. Absolutely fantastic for TQ3. Hey, can you bring my charger for me, please? Then we might see a lap record. Yeah, the Dacia Logan
is out on circuit at the moment.
Yeah, just coming down towards Brunchen. Down 2 gears, staying off the curbs. The red and white curves, phenomenally slippy. Will burst into view in front of everyone who is parked up and watching down there. Through Brunchen, climbing up now on the other side. And so that's, just over halfway around, really. Just again, giving you the scale of the circuit. Bruce was saying early on, and you know, it's easy to forget that there are towns and villages within the circuit boundaries. A few years ago, we stayed very close to the entry to the track that we use, actually, and there was something not quite right when I went back for a quick sleep in the middle of the night. And of course, we were never there when there were any track sessions. So I was like, what is going on? And it wasn't the noise, because you get used to the noise. The noise is just happening. But it was the flickering of the headlights across the ceiling, because they were heading up through Flugplatz and up towards the top of the hill at Arenberg.
Did you go back to your clubbing days, did you?
It was bizarre. I was like, what's somebody... Because we were on a very quiet little street, and what is that flickering across this? So I get up and I sort of peer out the curtain, and I'm like, oh, the track is just there. And it felt like I'd almost reach out. And that's the joy of this place. It really is.
It always amuses when you drive down the road here and to go to the to get our creds, which is by the filling station, and it still doesn't matter how many times I've done it. I've driven the race, I've driven on the road, I've done many of these commentaries with you for your team, and every time it still catches me. You drive down the road and you just look. There's a little bit. There's some at the edge of the road. There's some fencing, and you think, why is the fencing so high? Of course, because that's the dotting a her, isn't it?
Exactly.
And they're there. And of course, at night you can drive down that road and go back to your apartment or whatever if you are doing it. Why you want to leave a motor race circuit while the motor race on is beyond unfathomable. But there are the cars on the other side, and it's literally the other side of the fence.
I was just talking about that the other day, and if you're doing that and there's cars on track and you're pottering down at your 70 or 100 k's or whatever it is, and something whizzes across past your right shoulder doing twice that speed, it's quite funny. Hello to Tubbs and the team at Sacred Coffee, who power our broadcasts all around the world, and particularly useful here. We had a nice cup of Sacred this morning. We brought the coffee machine with us. We call them the official coffee of motorsport. They are the official coffee of Radio Show Limited when we're around the world and support an awful lot of drivers and teams as well. And at the moment, if if you go to sacredpod.com/coffee, you can get 10% off with Race 10 in capitals, RACE 10, 10% off for those of you watching and listening. Hello, Tubbs. Hello, everybody. Very busy time for motor racing at this time of the year, with Le Mans around the corner, IMSA, a couple of races on consecutive weekends for different categories of cars. We'll be covering all that for you as well. Looking forward to the next few months, and it's a much more sensible, it's not entirely sensible, but it's a slightly less bonkers calendar for endurance racing, particularly for the GT3 drivers, who last year the top drivers were at Le Mans for 2 weekends, test day on the Sunday, then obviously Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday. Then they were here, and we drove straight across as well. And that then was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Another 24 hours race. And if that wasn't enough last year, then there were 90 clicks, 100 clicks up the road at Spa for another Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for this CrowdStrike Spa 24 hours.
I mean, 2 of the most majestic circuits in Europe,
back to back,
the world, and they're, as you say, just a few kilometres apart.
It took us,
and equally, John, couldn't be more different circuits.
No, indeed. Too long. I mean, let's not forget that Spa is just over 7 kilometres around, 7.001, so just over 4 miles.
In its current half form since 1979.
Well, yes, indeed so. But it's fast and it's technical and it's weather affected. The WEC last weekend there was a tremendous race. I stayed up there on Sunday, had a very quiet day of reflection, doing a bit of prep for here in Le Mans. I drove down on Monday and deliberately stayed off. There's a highway that you can drive down, but I didn't do that. I went the back roads, and even doing the back roads, it was well under 2 hours, taking it easy. And I stopped to do some shopping for our accommodation as well.
I think one of the things I like about Spa is it's got quite a flow to it.
It's lovely.
But they've changed it, which is why I like this place so much. Is that, you know, the days when I was first racing at Spa, you'd come up to the first corner, La Source, which is an acute hairpin, and on the outside there was a barrier. And that was it. So those were your self-imposed track limits, like we were describing earlier at Sabine Schmitz curve going on to the Nordschleife here. You didn't have a massive runoff area and then a bit of gravel. You had a barrier.
So coming down to the end of what is the final qualifying for the bulk of the field, no major changes to what I gave you earlier on. The sun's shining brightly again, all the way from Schwedenkreuz to Breitscheid. Our April showers continue to toy with us. The rain radar is saying expect some more splashes in the Kallenhard-Versiphen area shortly. So we might not get back to a full track. Still drivers out there wanting to improve their time, including in the Cayman Cup car, the number 440. That's the bright orange coloured car, and that is the second in V5 at the moment, sitting in 132nd position. And their class leader is Adrenaline Motorsport. What have they done? 9:59. Somebody's gone off. We've got a slow zone. And where are they? They're on a 10:17, so they're 18 seconds away, and they're not going to find that on this track, because that Adrenaline Motorsport time in pole for V5 was set when the track was bone dry at the start of the session. All of the improvements were set from yesterday's times, were set pretty early on in the session. Possibly the most impressive was that of the AT2 Black Falcon Porsche GT3 Cup car, and that was 6:32. That's a Steve Brown car, Steve Brown time, and he set an 8:37. That's right in the middle of the SP9 AT1s and SPX cars, and that's good enough for 26th. 2 Cup 2 cars in the top 30 and 7 Cup 2 cars, the Porsche Carrera Cup 992.1 cars. It's 7 of those in the top 40. They are quick cars. 8:38 the best time, and the top 2, the 2 Mühlner cars, the 918 and the 904. Actually, I meant to have a look to see which one Michelle Gatting is in. Spoke to her earlier on in the week.
Checkered flag is presented, John, and just to let you know, there are 3 cars on track still, and the furthest away is all the way up at just coming up to the carousel now, so we've got quite a way to go for that, but just 3 cars out there. One coming down the Dottinger up to Tiergarten now, so that'll be taking this lap and then coming back into the pits, but not much more track action from this session, John. As the sun comes out now, I repeat this just because it's so accurate. You said at the beginning of our broadcast yesterday, the weather is changeable for this weekend, and it's been proven by the hour, by the minute. It's 5 minutes ago I was saying, John, stop looking at me, look out of the window at the pouring rain. You've taken your eyes off me again, which I understand, and it's now bright sunshine.
Incredible. Fluffy clouds at the far side of the circuit now. So a final session that hasn't affected the top, of course, those times set earlier. And remember, the top 12 go into the shootout we had, or at least the top 7 that we had earlier, plus the 5 pre-qualified cars are in the shootout. That is the next action that will affect the top 6 rows of the grid. We got the qualifying drivers for that. Congratulations to the pole sitters. I've just scanned through, and all of the pole sitters that I gave you earlier on that were provisional at that time have retained their pole positions in the other 1, 2, 3, oh, hang on, easy to do it this way. 21 classes. They've all retained their pole positions, so there's been no change to the pole. There have been some improvements today in that first part of this final practice session. So qualifying 3 brings to an end the conventional qualifying. So all of the grid with the times on the screens around the circuit and on the live timing via the internet, all of those times except the front 6 rows, all of those times have set the grid. So from 13th to 160, because we know there's going to be a couple of non-starters, or at least one non-starter at the moment. So all of those grid set spots are set, subject, of course, to post-qualifying technical inspection. What we have now to identify is the top 12. So the top 12 shootout is actually called TQ3, top qualifying 3. And I'll give you the drivers for that in a wee second. So we started off in actually some of the best conditions we've had today, with even a little heat haze looking down the Dottinger. Times being set early on by those who went out. The 2 Mühlner Cup cars have ended up first and second in the Cup 2 class, right in the middle of the faster car field. Big incident at the Flugplatz for one of the M2 BMWs. And then the April showers, well, a bit more than that, to be honest, hit. Out went the slippery surface, rubbish on the track flags. And it was stair rods at one stage, just coming straight down with no wind to speak about, oddly, for this weekend. But now it's cleared up again, and we can look to the right from our commentary booth, right on the start-finish line, and quite actually right on the finish line, because the start line has been moved. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Look to the right and see the classic shot of the castle on the top of the hill there, the top of the rise. Let me quickly give you the drivers, and I think the qualifying order as well. From it was drawn at random, and saw the top Q3 or TQ3 draw. We'll see HRT Ford Racing start off with this is the car that had the engine change, and it will be Frederick Vervisch for Ford Mustang number 67, their GT3 Evo, the 2026 Evo. Then Grello, a lot of people's favourites this weekend. Thomas Preining, the Austrian driver, will take the 911 out second. Third, Daniel Hunkedeyer for the number 3, the car that Max Verstappen got into the top dozen, courtesy of his